ballet. I'd like to try to share with you a little bit about what's inside that word. It sort of bemuses me as an artistic director that there are many, many people that have perceptions of ballet and they've never attended one. They choose to stay away. So obviously, myself included, there are many of us curious about what can we do to connect, to inspire, to create some curiosity to get people to go to the theater. They might really find it to be a pretty unique experience. Hence the comment about Big Boy, and we called it Big. And it was quite a collaboration indeed. A lot of meetings at 3 a.m. But it's like I say, in South Carolina, I listen to people everywhere, of course. And in South Carolina, you hear comments like, ballet? It's a bit uppity. Or you go up the coast, go to the Northeast, and, oh, ballet is so Eurocentric. You go to the Midwest, I went to a barn dance once, So my personal experience about ballet, which, I can use words like, it was like kind of going through a new door, a new pathway. It was an incredible adventure, is a credible adventure. Exhilarating, spiritual, and even at times phantasmagorical, honestly. And that kind of sensibility is so astonishing to me that I'm also going to share a little bit that's inside the ballet word about learning, about connectedness, about how it enriches people's experiences. But I'll give you a little bit of history first, which most of you probably have some kind of inclination about anyway. Okay, this is a rain dance. Well, for centuries and centuries, people have been dancing, and priestesses probably in Egypt, all kinds of endeavors to invoke the mythical gods. How do you talk to something like that? Well, I think that internally you get so committed and wound up about it that you express yourself through moving. So in this case, they adorned themselves. And it seems like they always adorn themselves to prepare themselves. It's kind of like a costume. We all sort of in our own way have a costume. So this has been going on a real long time. And communities, villages, cities, trying to imply, trying to bring about something that has a little bit of mystery to it. A little bit something that's enchanting. But it's also something tangible. There's nothing like rain. So then we're going to move on to King Louie. King Louie, there were these incredible spectacles. I'm old, but I wasn't there. And there were a lot of people involved in this adulation of what they described as God on earth, the King of France. In fact, thousands of people, and they spent an awful lot of resources and time and effort to do that. Well, I mentioned Louie because he frankly started to formalize dance. He loved to dance. And I'm going to do something for you in a moment called an entrechatre, which is 4. And it's a little beat, and you plie and you go. That's an entrechatre. Well, and then you have entrechadis, which is 10. You have entrechassis, which is 6. I can't show you those. But so what he invented was 3. He couldn't do an entrechassis, so he did a royale. Okay, so it fakes it. It goes like this. And it's called a royale after the King of France, Louis. Why do I talk about Louis? Well, things changed for all of them soon after that photograph, probably. And in fact, one of the first ballets after the Revolution was a ballet called Giselle. So they weren't talking about the King of France anymore. They were talking about a little village girl who was betrayed. And it's a pretty interesting story. But isn't that something that it captures? You go from the King of France with the mask and all of this kind of spectacle to, boom, revolution, and now we're talking about a woman? A young woman who's in love with a prince? Anyway. But what about his legacy? So a lot happened to him and others. But what is his legacy? A few hundred years of ballet, the Paris Opera Ballet, the Paris Opera Ballet School. The school is phenomenal. Generations and generations of people fine-tuning and expanding upon what Louie was up to. If you're in Paris, go to the Garnier. It's amazing, that company. And it's amazing because of their school. And it's amazing because of their culture. And you sit and watch their students. It's this vast area, and they have all these wonderful paintings of these French ballerinas and some Italians. And the children come out from the very back of this theater, and the audiences adore it. So it's a connection. It's something that people appreciate. And then we have a belly dance. Oh, the French also did the point shoe. I don't know if you've ever had on a pair of point shoes. But Maria Taglioni, her father was a ballet master, so they did the point shoe. So they can kind of float. We have a belly dancer. I don't know if you've been to North Africa or the Mediterranean, but I'll tell you, belly dancing does enrich a meal. And it's as good as the dessert, maybe a little better. But here again, it's got that kind of gypsy flavor to it. It's evocative of something totally different than the formality of Louie's ballet. Then we have Tango. Have you ever been to Buenos Aires? The Tango, it's phenomenal. They have clubs open all night, a man and a woman. Talk about relationship, talk about passion, talk about sensuality, and they're experiencing it. They're dancing themselves. And you have the bandoneon and the bass and the music and everything. It's unbelievable. Have you ever been to a Jewish wedding? I have. I was in New York, and it was on, that big blue whale in the Science Center or whatever? Wow, that was a hell of a wedding. This is Hava Nagila, and the chairs are in the air and the music. Two people that are committed to spending their lives together. I can't tell you what kind of energy that is and what kind of, it hits you. It's powerful. This is, the Jitterbug. Okay, so this is in the 30s. This is depression. This is a time which is extremely difficult for families. But you know what? Dance doesn't cost you anything. You can do the Jitterbug. You can come out. The palaces were full of dancers. What was that Jane Fonda movie? They shoot horses, don't they? Everybody came out because you got a prize. If you were left standing, and you were still dancing, you got the prize. That was the Depression. So people were expressing themselves. Everybody has to have a good time despite how horrible things are. Dance is happy. It's joyful. It's giddy. This is the West Coast swing. California dreaming. Wow, I got off the airplane when I was graduated from, they sent me my diploma. When I got out of high school in the 60s, ended up in Haight-Ashbury, the swing, wow. Think of the music we've had and how else from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. So this is California dreaming kind of stuff. Looks pretty physical, doesn't it? Here we are, clogging, it's more of that, it's everything. But think of our young country when all this was going on. Think of tap. Just tap. It was invented right here in the United States of America. Jazz, right here. Hip hop. What does that say to us? That's talking about ourselves expressing ourselves in our community. What's next? I don't know, but it's going to be, who knows? It's going to be exhilarating, isn't it? Okay? We have a school of 1,000 students, and we do all that in that school, and there is so much empowerment. It's amazing.
Audience in place. Begins working its magic.
This is the male bird, obviously intent on influencing the female. You know what this reminds me of? Reminds me of a Latin club in Miami Beach. Salsa. Unbelievable. You ought to see that male bird and it's unbelievable. Look at this dude. You talk about break dancing. Okay. All right. It's natural. You know, heartbeat, rhythm, joy, happiness, community, getting together, celebrating. Dance is wonderful. And, you know, there's a bit of a kind of a disconnect, I think. Not everybody's comfortable dancing, you know. Have you ever been to these fundraisers where you wear the tux? I've been to a lot of them. And, you know, the husbands can't wait to get the hell out of there. But the best part of the evening is the live music. It's at the end of the auction's over. Paid this, did. All the men sit in the chair. They just sit there. The wives want to dance. What's wrong? You know, what's happened to us? You know, we are observers. You know, we are stepping back. It's like if you're on the beach and there's the sand and there's the water, why would you just stay on the sand? It's because we're uncomfortable. You know, we might be embarrassed or something like that. So I'm going to go to some of the learning parts of the ballet thing, okay? I think that, because we all have memories of when we're in school, and I have to admit that my entire education, I did not enjoy one day of it. Not one day. I am not exaggerating. And I think what can happen is we tend to overmanage. We tend to want to control. We got all these kids in the room, and we're going to fill their head up with a bunch of information, a bunch of knowledge, and then they can go out and do something with it. Well, knowledge is okay. It's good to have knowledge, but what do you do with it? What do you do with it? You know, you got to kind of reshuffle it. You know, Einstein said knowledge is not important, it's imagination that matters. So it's what you do with the knowledge that really has an impact on yourself and all those around you. That's where you want to go. So we want to give our children an opportunity to also partner in the education process. We just talk at them all the time. How about the kid? How about liberating that child? We got a call from a woman named Kay at Park Lane, a little school by the airport, East Point. She said, we got some big troubles here, and we hear that you do dance in the schools. Yeah, we do. And will you come here and look around and get acquainted with us and see if there's something you can do to help us? We just don't know what to do anymore. So they selected 24 kids who were their behavioral problems, okay? And so we took those 24 kids. And so the first thing we did is we walked in that morning and said, hey, how about let's dance? Let's have a good time. All kids dance. Hey, you got some music? What would you like to hear? So we played their music. And all we did was we made available to them a process that opened up the opportunity to use their imaginations, express themselves, have a good time, be happy, be physical, sweat. And so they came up with stories, and they did choreography, and they built costumes, and then they performed. And they performed for their colleagues in the little cafetorium. And you know what? Over time, all that behavior suddenly, you know, it just changed. And then, you know what? They enjoyed to learn. They began to see and feel and discover something about themselves that gave them a future. One of the most poignant things, because we've been there for 16, 17 years, from the second and third graders, little tiny kids, to the Paul D. West Middle School and then Tri-City, 2 of the boys from Tri-City performed for the second graders in the cafetorium. They had done the choreography. One of them was going to Fordham. I can't remember where the other one was going. You could hear a pin drop. Those kids that were observing that were touched, and they could feel something, and they were empowered, and we're still there. So it's part of that learning process. In fact, when I was in school, I felt like a paper donkey pinned on the wall, just like this, and all these voices coming at you. And that's why I think when you partner with a child and they're engaged and they become part of that process and they participate and you learn from them, the teachers were all learning from them, amazing, magical things happen. These are some of the kids from Park Lane. Look at their smiles. And they're all dressed up. They dance all over the city. They go to festivals, and they come to the ballet. They take ballet with us. They go to the theater. And they love to learn. Love to learn. Wow. That's the mambo, if you don't know. There's the mambo. They used to send out, because there weren't any ballroom classes back in the 30s, they'd send out these footprints, and you could try to learn how to dance, by doing your footprints. It's not much fun without a partner, but, you can still, So, anyway, I would like to also share with you that, dance is a language. It has an alphabet. It has a vocabulary. It has punctuation and syntax. It has all of these elements. But what it also has is feelings. Feelings. There's something very sincere and very honest about dance. Because what you look at the kinetics, you were talking about faces a moment ago, and all of that. What you see is real. It's very vivid. But when it's imbued with qualities of soul and spirit and all these different emotions, it can be very powerful. It's very universal. You can do a ballet. Let's say that we took Big, just as one thing. You can go to Paris with that. You can go to Beijing with that. You can go to Cape Town with that. You can go anywhere you want, and the people will get it. You don't need to read anything. You don't need to listen to a lecture. You don't need to get educated about it, because it's something that comes from the gut. You just feel it. And it gives you a sense of community, too, because every night we did that, the audience was on their feet, and there were people from all over Metro Atlanta. Okay. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the school, the 1,000 students, and how these kids come together in the studios, and how they're from all over, the state, the country, really the world, and how they learn about each other, how they collaborate. It's all about life experience. So the arts are a process that engage young people, everyone for that matter, and it really connects them and prepares them for what they want to be. That way they can identify what they want to become, because they're very supportive of each other, and they learn so much in the process. And I got to stop, but I'm going to leave you with one little thing here. The fellow that just won the award in Venice. Culture is not a luxury, it is the basis for the development of society. Alexander Sokurov. He got the Golden Lion Award for his film Faust. Thank you very much.